Got a bit of a weird one for you here today. Now, I don't want to mislead people, so right at the start of the video, I'm saying I don't think this is an Easter egg. But it is definitely strange, and it's a lot more interesting than I gave it credit for the first time I looked. A big thank you to today's sponsor, and that is Gamerlink. This is an app I've been advertising for a little while now. I think it is absolutely awesome. It's available on iOS and Android. It is free to use, and basically you can use it to try and find other people to play with in over 350 games, including DMZ and raids. Remember, the Call of Duty raids are coming out tomorrow. It's free player. I'm going to be streaming it right here on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe, turn your notifications on. And if you want to find a team to do it, you can use Gamerlink to try and find other players. You can set what platform you're on, you can set what region you're in, what language you want to speak, what your communication preferences are, and hopefully find some other people to help you beat that content. So this whole story started late last night when someone called Digital Adele on Twitter sent me a link to a video that he'd made talking about some weird things he'd seen in Quarry. I've put a link to the video down below. Go show him some support. It was really nice of him to reach out and tell me about this. I wouldn't have been able to make this video without him. So he had noticed that there are some markings, some letters on some of the blocks in Quarry, and he had noticed that there's like an arrow, there's a splodge, there's a couple of splodges actually, and there's a big letter C on one of the blocks in the big sort of array of blocks that's out the front of Quarry. Then he'd also seen, if you go to some smaller blocks a little bit further away, there's like a red X and then a couple of other arrows and things like that. Nothing too interesting, and I quickly found some pictures of real life quarries, and sure enough, they do mark the real stones like this. Like, that's not an unusual thing at all. Adele also had a look at this map, sort of saying maybe this is interesting because there's kind of a red circle with a cross on it. He'd looked at a couple of doors that he sent me pictures of, saying maybe this is connected to that, maybe this door is meant to be what the map's talking about. But Cassian on my Discord pointed out that these maps actually show Piccadilly from above, and the images are reused on another asset where it's meant to show like Alcatala attack diagrams or something like that. It's just showing Piccadilly from the obviously Piccadilly attack in Modern Warfare 2019. So I think this is just a reused asset and there's nothing too interesting on this map. But now we get to the bit that really piques my interest, that I think is really interesting. Adele pointed out that his friends were in a game with him and they could see different markings on the rocks to what he could see. So I hopped into a game on my Xbox Series X because it was late at night. I was downstairs on the sofa and I loaded up, went into Quarry, just looking in Battle Royale, and I could only see the C letter and then the arrows and stuff like that, but nothing else. So there weren't many markings. I could see the same things that Adele could see in his gameplay. I didn't think much more of it. I was even starting to think like, oh, maybe the other people that Adele had been playing with were having him on. Maybe they'd just posted the letters there. Didn't really understand it. But this morning I decided to stream and go have a look at it with Flynn and Cobb. Now, it was really interesting that when I went to the Quarry in DMZ mode, and we actually later checked it in Battle Royale and it was the same, we could see all of the letters. So I could see a completely different set of letters compared to what I could see on my Xbox Series X. Even weirder was that Flynn could see all of these letters too, and he was playing on an Xbox Series X as well. We got Cobb in because he's playing without on-demand texture streaming on. I tried turning the textures down to low and stuff like that. He could still see them as well. So the only thing I could think of is that on the original time when I looked at them on the Xbox, I had 120 frames per second mode on. I assume that turns down quite a lot of graphical features. Maybe there's some sort of graphical setting that means some people can see these letters and other people can't. But anyway, let's have a look at what these letters are that we're talking about. So the letters that appear on the blocks are C, U, I, N, G, and an X. The X is a little bit different because it's on a different face to all of the others. All of the other letters, the C, U, I, N, G, all kind of face the same direction. Now, I'll go through some of the things that I've tried with these letters, some of the different theories that we had in chat that we decided to experiment with in the game. But if you have any other ideas of what this could mean or what we could do with it, please let me know in the comments below, and then some of the best ideas I'll try out in a stream sometime soon. Also, on some of the stone blocks, there's like 6 character codes. These are bits of graffiti that we saw in Bunker 11 back in Verdansk, and as far as I know, they were never used for anything. People always tried to fit them into every Easter egg we ever did, and pawn takes pawn and stuff like that, but we never ended up using them. So I think it's just a reused asset. They're just meant to look like, you know, ominous scrawlings on the wall or something like that. Or maybe it could be a hint that, you know, hey, Bunker 11 was the first Easter egg back in Verdansk. Maybe that's a hint that this is the area where we're going to be looking for the first Easter egg here. Who knows? I think that's very unlikely personally. So the first thing that seemed obvious to me was that maybe you could try and line up all of the letters. You know, there's loads of games that have that kind of feature where if you stand in the right place, line everything up, then something is revealed. I've tried lining them up. You can't see all of the letters from any one place as far as I can tell. I even climbed up onto a tall tower to see if you could see them from there. There's always some of them obscured. That X is really annoying because it's on a different side to all of the others. But even if you line them up, it's not like they spell anything. I could make them spell nug, so unless this is a McDonald's crossover and we're all going to get some free chicken nuggets, that would be pretty cool. I'd be happy with that, but I don't think it is. And then it doesn't really explain what the C and the I are doing. Obviously, nug is also gun backwards, so it could be like something where, oh, if you line this up properly, you get a special gun. But I don't think that's what's happening. Someone in chat suggested that maybe there's 26 blocks, and then obviously there could be one letter on each block. So it is kind of interesting that they don't repeat or anything like that. If that's true, I'm not really sure what you would do with that information, like how you would work out which blocks correspond to which letter. I've got absolutely no idea. And that doesn't really explain why some people can see loads of letters and other people can only see the C. I tried jumping on the blocks in alphabetical order to see if that would do something. So just trying to go up, so starting on the C and then going over to the G, then the I, then the N, then the U, then the X. That didn't seem to trigger anything or unlock anything. I've also tried shooting them, hitting them, all of those kind of different things you could do with them. There doesn't seem to be a way to interact with these at all. There's also a small office right next to these blocks that's locked. You need a key to get inside. It's called like the Stonecutter's office or something like that. Cobb thankfully had a key, so we went in there twice, one time after 3 minutes and one time before 3 minutes in case something despawned. We couldn't find anything in there. We didn't get a note, we didn't get a specific extra key or anything like that. There's no diagrams that seem to correspond to blocks, nothing that looks like the letters at all. That actually seems a little bit weird because it seems like most of the locked rooms contain some kind of note, so it seems very, very strange that we've got one here that doesn't have any kind of note at all. That almost makes me think it's more likely that there's something interesting going on here. It's also worth noting that we have gathered lots of the other notes from around the game. Loads of them disappear after 3 minutes. I made a video just talking about some of that, so you can go check that out if you want. But none of the other notes mention anything to do with blocks at Quarry, so there's no other leads that kind of point us in this direction. If this was something to do with an Easter egg, I would kind of expect there to be something that would maybe be hinting that there's something of interest here. I will do some videos in the future just going through all of those different stories that we found so far. We're still kind of in the process of checking some of the different locations and trying to make sure we've got screenshots of them all, so that will take a little bit of time. So here are my two possible solutions to this, my two possible conclusions. First of all, and the one that I think is way more likely, is that this is just set dressing. This is just a little bit of art to make it look a bit more like a real quarry, add a little bit of feature to some of these big stone blocks, just like how you see them in a real quarry. If so, maybe the reason that some of these letters don't appear for some people is to do with settings, a setting that I haven't found, or to do with whether you're on last gen console or next gen console, or whether you've got the 120 frames per second mode setting on, and that's why I couldn't see it on my Xbox Series X. If that's the case, it'd be really useful in chat, in the comments, if you let me know if you can't see all of these other letters. If you can't see the G, the U, the I, the N, and the X, please let me know what console you're running, what settings you're running, and that might help us to work out whether this is just some weird texture loading issue. Or the other option is that this is some kind of puzzle and there's something that we're missing of this. Maybe the map is useful, maybe it's pointing in some direction, maybe the word is meant to spell something, it's an anagram of something. Absolutely no idea. If you think that that's the case, please let me know in the comments, what do you think we should try? Where could we enter these codes? I would be really interested to find out. With all of the notes that we found, we have had a kind of interesting ongoing mystery that we've been given loads of codes now that we have nothing to do with. I wonder whether the new building 21 that's being added in the patch tomorrow might have somewhere where we can type in codes and all of these codes will be useful. In which case, maybe these letters spell out a code for that, or maybe at some point we'll get a website. Maybe there's already a website that we just haven't found yet where we could put in these codes to get a bit of extra lore about the game. That's kind of what I'm really hoping for, that there's some kind of extra layer to all of this where we'll have a use for all of these codes. Or maybe the codes are just part of the sort of narrative, part of the lore, and we're not going to use them for anything. That would be super disappointing. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, and I will see you for the next one. Goodbye.